everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Fab and the Furious. We're excited. It's summer. How are you enjoying the weather? I'm so excited about the weather. Are you guys excited about the weather finally? Like, oh my gosh.
It's still a little bipolar, but...
It is, but we're on a roll, and I hope it stays on a roll. So, you know who I am. My name is Roxy Fab. We've got to my left, we got Kay. I like to call him Kay. That's Kahan. Cassandra to his left. Naomi to her left. Belito is back to her left. And Rima to his left. I know Belito was out. He wrapped up the Hustle musical. So, you know, we're going to check that out. We missed it, but we're going to check it out. It's coming back in June. So make sure you go to, what's the website? TheHustleMusical.com?
Yeah, hustlemusicaltix.com. Hustlemusical.tix.com.
Yeah, something
and
like
it's,
that.
Father's Day, June Sunday.
Oh, okay, that's till like the 21st or 24th or something like that, right? So
yeah, it's going to run out till the 21st.
Right, okay, yeah.
So get your tickets.
Make sure we get our tickets.
See me on
It's going to be
stage.
really, really good. And Cassandra was out sick. So welcome Cass back. And she's not spreading no germs today. Nope. So, as we all know, 8 states have, was it all 8 or 4 are pending? I heard you say something about 4
There's
pending.
an additional 4 pending.
Oh, okay. Jesus. So 8 states we know passed this heartbeat bill, all right, in reference to abortion. Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi, Ohio, Utah, and Arkansas. So if you can detect a heartbeat, then you cannot have an abortion, which I think is utterly ridiculous. But, so it's almost like 6 to 8 weeks. If a doctor is caught performing one or does perform one, he gets what?
99 years in prison.
99 years. The only thing that's living that long is our dog Manolo, who's at 100. Shout out to Manolo. Right, you know, right. So it doesn't matter whether you're raped, your age. You know, your daughter could be 10 and be raped, and she has to have a baby if she's in these states. Some other states are pending, like Naomi just mentioned. And so we're going to talk about abortion, and we're going to talk about who's supporting these children that these people possibly cannot afford. And then we're going to talk about child support as it all ties in together. And like Belito said, who's going to raise these babies? You know, if my child gets raped at 10 or 11 or even 9, she shouldn't be forced to have a child. You know, she just got her period. She's still learning who she's about and what all this does. And now she's forced to have a child, you know. I'm all for adoption, so, you know, but just the fact that your child may possibly have to go through birthing a human being and they're a baby.
That's it.
You know, I mean, I've got huge problems with that. You know, I mean, I do. I got really big problems with that part, especially the rapist part.
Right.
You know, us as women, I don't know if people have gone through their share. I'm not one to hold mine. Everybody knows me, and I'm healthy, I'm good, and my kids are perfect, you know. So I've had my share of terminations because I was irresponsible and didn't want to have a child, you know, period. I was not having a kid while I was in high school, so it didn't even matter what was going on. I was like, oh, no, I'm going to the clinic tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Like, it just was what it was. But I take responsibility for mine, and, you know, I learned that the hard way mentally and physically and emotionally at that time. So, you know, that's what it was. Guys weren't taking care of that. They, you know, they barely wanted to pay for that. So,
or even claim it.
Hey,
you know.
that too. You know, this ain't my bed. You know, all that. You know, we're not gonna do that. But that was a long time ago. A very long time ago. You know, but yeah, I'm so stuck on. I guess I can't really believe that this is really even like happening.
Right.
I really can't. Like, like what is going on? I'm stuck. Like, seriously, when I'm reading it on my Facebook timeline, I'm like, wait a minute, are you kidding me? Like, this is really happening. And yeah, like, you know, and then you've got some celebrities. I think it was Halle Berry and the white guy. I think was it Jason Bateman? I think one of them guys. It wasn't either Jerry Connolly or Jason Bateman. I get them confused. So I think it's Jason Bateman. He said that he wasn't going to film. He wasn't going to film in Georgia until until they stopped that or whatever. And I think Halle Berry said the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm stuck. So y'all already know. I'm so glad my daughter is grown, and she's got a son. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm so glad she's grown and has a son. Like, are you seriously kidding me with this foolishness? You know, who are these people to pass these laws telling me what I can and can't do? And then I'm hearing if you go to another, if I live in Kentucky and I say, all right, well, I'm going to Philly to go handle this. How they tracking me? First of all, that's what I want to know. How you tracking me?
Well, I can tell you how they're tracking.
the segment of Bolito is coming. I'm trying to tell you. It's coming. Yeah, but because I got, you know, like, so what, once they find out I'm pregnant, they're clocking my house. They're clocking, I guess the doctor, whoever does the exam has to, yeah.
Medical records. So basically, we're going to be back in a time where back alley and clothes hangers is basically what's going to end up happening. Because if you have, especially these teenagers, even, I mean, a woman, it doesn't matter if you're 40 and you get raped and you become pregnant, first of all, you can die. You know what I mean? Like, depending on the age and if you know, have complications or something like that.
Right, it's a lot of risk.
You end up pregnant and you just mentally can't handle the fact that you have this person's, you know, child inside of you. People are going to end up still, you know, possibly dying, having infections and everything else, and not being able to have their own children when they consent with their own mate, husband, or whoever, because of this bill being passed. I think they're definitely trying to reverse time at this point.
That's a small percentage of people, though, right?
What's that?
I mean, like the people that maybe conceive from being raped.
Well,
I mean, the majority of people
it's not
is
just
going to be
rape,
more.
though. There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about rape now,
about
but
incest.
You
know,
and
it's
it
a
could
big
just
thing
be
about
me.
it.
And
But
then
those are still small.
They're very small. I know what he's saying.
I'm saying
I
in
mean,
general.
you're talking about in
general.
comparison, but I think that when it comes to this law, that's kind of where everybody sways, is that as far as the choice is concerned, it's like that part wasn't even their choice.
Right.
So
Right.
in essence, when you talk about we laid down and had sex and it just so happened that I get pregnant, we made that choice up until that point. We made those choices versus when you get raped, you know, whether it's incest, whether it's, you know, a stranger on the street, nonetheless, that wasn't my choice to have sex in the first place. And now, on top of that, there's a baby out of this. So I think that's kind of why we're focusing in that area, because the choice was never there in any capacity.
Right.
And now you're telling me,
So-
you're taking a choice away from me and saying I have to now,
I gotta
on
have
top
it
of
no
that,
matter
have to have a baby.
Yeah,
I
no.
didn't consent to sex, and now you're telling me I have to take care of a child.
So say for the regular people, do you?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, so if it was somebody who like me who could have a kid, but I can't. Thank you, hysterectomy. But anyway, who could have a baby, and I just said, ooh, I'm 50, I don't think I'm doing that. No. Yeah, so then I can't do it either. And I'm 50.
But there was a case where a
What are you
woman
even
was
talking
sick.
about?
Like, if you had a choice of this baby is going to cause complications, which you might die. So you have the choice of terminating or, you know, running the risk. That choice is taken away. Like, now I don't have a choice. So if I say, okay, this baby is either me or the baby, I don't have a choice now. I just have to risk it. But in this situation, she did die.
Right.
In this case, because she went to term. So there's no choice
Was it by
whatsoever.
choice or was she forced to go?
She was forced. They gave you the option, like, okay, well, this is what's gonna happen. I forgot what the situation was, but they took away her choice to say either terminate and be fine, or run the risk of
So
dying.
they told her she
in
had to
birth.
keep the baby.
So
Yeah.
y'all think it's just about what we think, like about choice, or is it
Oh,
something
no.
more to
It's
it?
all
I mean,
control.
It's
about
about
control.
ethics. It's
I mean,
I don't
about
think it's a control
morals. It's
thing.
about
It's a power thing.
the
It's a
ramifications
numbers
behind it all.
thing to me.
Go ahead. I'm gonna
Well,
let you get
I
down.
think
Let him get
Well,
down.
I feel like-
Yeah, go ahead.
For the white race, they've been kind of slowly dying off.
not kind of. They
And-
are.
Population. I got
Population
Okay.
for them in this country
Population control.
to help keep their numbers up to compete with. Black and brown.
I did read that.
I feel like
somewhere.
that kind of could be part of the reason that they passing these
But that's
laws.
gonna backfire.
I know, I was about to say it.
Like everything they
To
was
me,
trying,
that seemed like the
put
opposite.
disease over here. Now you got the
Yeah.
disease. Put the drugs over here. Now you have the drugs.
Right.
Every time they try to destroy someone else to make them bigger, it always backfires. So that's going to backfire. That's really the case. It's going to backfire.
Right.
Yeah, Belito. He was about to.
Well, I mean, I knew where he was going when when Kahan said that, and
Excuse me.
it's true. I mean, statistically, they don't reproduce like everyone else does, and everyone else, and I mean, the Asians, Hispanics, and blacks or whatever, they don't reproduce like us. They have to go to the hospital and get pills and all this stuff just to have a baby, or just to get pregnant, and then they hope that that pregnancy lasts enough for her to conceive. So, I guess I haven't looked at the numbers as far as like these countries. I mean these states that have passed these laws, but I'm sure that they aren't reproducing as much as everyone else. And then maybe I can say that I could take a wild guess and say that the ones that are getting pregnant, they're probably not keeping them. So now they're being forced to not be able to get an abortion to keep them, to help their numbers. But again, whether they decide to keep them or not, they have the highest rates of miscarriages as well. So for one, they have the lowest rate of pregnancy, but yet they have the highest rate of miscarriages. And not just abortions, I'm talking about just miscarriages. Just, we lost the baby due to whatever.
But you know what? Now that you say that, it's also, if you think about it, and a lot of Black and brown communities, it's kind of like, oh, you pregnant, all right, well, you gonna have this baby, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna figure it out. Whereas in a Caucasian community, it typically is like, oh no, you're going to college, you're on a career path, you're doing this and that, we're going to the clinic. It's a little more hushed, and it's kind of like, or no, you have to be married and have your career first before you have babies. So it does make sense that what you guys are saying as far as making sure that population, and again, remember, they want a certain type of people on top of that. They want it to be of elite status when it comes to the babies and people that are coming into the world. So I could definitely see that being the plot, so to speak.
Yeah, but even that whole concept is, to me, it's funny to me because a lot of white people believe that because they're white, that they're the elite. And it's like, no, you're not. Because if you were, you wouldn't be struggling like everyone else. You have the elite, which can look at themselves separate. They don't consider themselves to be like anyone else on this planet. And then you have everyone else. So it doesn't matter if you're white or, black or Hispanic or green or red or whatever. If you're not a part of that bloodline or in that clique, then you're getting the same treatment as everyone else. But there's a misconception of, well, I'm white, I'm privileged. And it's like, well, no, you're not all the way privileged. You might get treated a little bit better. So it's like you have the elites, and then you have white people. And then white people are like the ones that get to sit at the table with master, and then everyone else is out on the field. So they feel a little privileged, but it's like, no, you're eating the scraps of what the elite are eating, or you're reaping the benefits of, which is the scraps of what the elites are doing. So it's like you have white people that are $200,000 in debt because they're trying to live that dream, going to school, going to college, and all this stuff. But in their mind, they're still like, I'm white, I'm privileged, and it's like, no, you're misunderstanding. You're not getting the full picture. It's just like the light-skinned kid in the house. Where it's like, oh yeah, you might think that you're prettier than your sister or your cousin because you're light skinned, but you're still black. And it's the same thing within the whites. It's like, oh well, yeah, you're white, but you're not one of us.
You live in Kensington.
And they don't get that.
That's a trailer park right there. We live in the suburbs.
And they don't get that. So
Kensington is popping now. It's not Kensington.
Oh yeah. But even like if you look at those states, if you look at those states, those are like the states with the poorest white people.
Absolutely.
Because there's white people in Philly who are living way better than the white people in Alabama and all that stuff. But the white people in Alabama are the ones who are the rednecks who don't have dental care and all that stuff, or are on welfare but don't go to the dentist and teeth are falling out their mouth. But because they're white,
Who do they support?
well, they support. Well.
The people that's making these laws.
Yeah.
It's their supporters that it's affecting.
Because I'm going to vote for the white man because he looks like me, but you're not a part of his, clique. Or,
They don't get that.
I think about with all of this out here now, how do those women feel who voted for them? and now they're taking away your rights, one by one. But you, oh yeah, grab them by the, and they was cool with that. They were, oh well, it's fine, and they were co-signing. Now look what happened. You co-sign. Look what you co-sign. Now all your rights are being taken away one by one. You want me to work? Want me? I don't know where it's gonna
So
go.
is there any positives to this
Yeah.
out of it?
I mean, be more responsible.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it'll encourage people to maybe think more
eventually,
about?
If they ain't been
About
protected this
sex
long,
and-
if AIDS ain't get everybody on protection, and pregnancy this far, then no. Every year,
Like I
every
said,
decade
they
is
won't
a,
be
is
in the
a
alleys.
different thing. One decade, remember back years ago was the claps. Oh, they got the claps.
Yeah.
Oh, was people strapping up? No. They were going to get them shot. Just going to get a shot.
Right.
Then it was like, oh, okay, well, then you had the other things. And then you're looking at, okay, well, now there's AIDS. And it's like, whoa, I got to strap up. This stuff to kill
And you
you.
still got
And then you still
got
people
niggas
out here
freestyling.
doing it, bro.
still got them
Well, he look
freestyle.
clean. She look
You know,
clean.
right? And it's
Right,
like,
well,
so this is going to make them now?
And I want to know
Nah.
what that even means, but not today.
No.
Well, looks clean. Yeah.
Yeah, he
No,
looked
they ain't
clean.
gonna do it.
She looked
Right.
clean. She
Yeah.
seemed like she was
Yeah,
clean.
That's a real.
And that's a
fine
whole
thing.
nother day.
He looked
I
clean.
know, but I mean, but even I
You
think,
can't tell.
He
I
looked
think
safe.
these
I got
laws-
that a lot.
She looked safe.
You just got in the car with me. I'm a
Yeah.
stranger.
Like you
You look
said, but
safe.
now
Look what I got.
I'm hoping that it teaches us and the next generation. You know what I mean? Everybody, like, I hope it does teach them something. Like, yo, you just can't be out here, like, you know, guys and girls. You can't be out here
And
just
I
freestyling.
think it's good for
Because
those
she get
who
pregnant
are
and she
irresponsible.
stopped.
I don't
That
think
had like 10 abortions, 18 abortions, 20. Like for those people, you just like it's a
they use it as birth
taking
control.
like vitamins.
Right.
You just
Right.
okay, time to go to clinic.
Yeah, but
Isn't
if
it a
you
law
look-
that you only have
but-
a certain amount you
but
can
if-
get though?
I mean, but it's
I don't know.
still. You
Well, I
know,
mean, I
it's
think
just
after a
not
certain
nothing.
amount
I
of
don't know.
after a certain number of abortions, I think you won't be having kids anymore.
Anyway,
after.
that's the other
Anyway,
part
yeah.
of it is, you know,
And
kind
then
of.
it's
But here's my thing: is
No,
that
but it doesn't. Back. I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. A lot of people will put that in women's heads, and their chitter chatter group. As far as you know, if you have too many, you ain't gonna be able to have kids. That's actually that's not true either. You only won't be able to have kids if your doctor screws something up.
Right.
So other than that, you'll be just fine.
Okay.
So it's just what it is.
Scary tactics.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
my
mean-
thing is that we do all this talk about like the aftermath. So my thing is that while we're worrying about abortions, why aren't we having introducing real sex education? So like you said, how are they learning a lesson based on you can't get an abortion? How about we talk about the fact that you shouldn't get pregnant? Why don't we go back to the days where there's commercials on TV about condoms and
Now they are.
disease and
Let's
things
see.
like that?
Now
You know what I
there's-
mean? Like
Now there's
we
some
need
stupid commercials
to
on now.
educate them
Yeah.
versus saying, well, when you get pregnant, no. How about we stop that from happening in the first place? Prevention, not intervention.
Well, because the problem is, for one, everyone's depending on a commercial or a school or program to educate their children on sex,
And you
and
gotta
all that begins at home.
Yeah.
So if you don't talk
But
to your
obviously that's not. So again, we're talking about a perfect world versus what we
no,
need
it's
to
not
do.
about a perfect
It
world.
is because
not.
people
What
are
about
not
the
going to
poor
do
kids
it.
that don't have
It
it
would
at
have
home?
happened already if it was going to start at home. But again, because who's making the laws? The parents aren't making the laws right now that we're talking about. When we're talking about abortion, we're not saying but the parents. We're saying the government and with the laws that are being put in place. So my thing is, instead of the government talking about what you can't do concerning abortion, why doesn't the government put money into these programs? I don't care if it's,
Because
programs
the
that go
government
into the
already does
homes.
enough. The government already does enough, because if you look at history, before the government jumped in, the reason why the government was formed was because people stopped taking care of responsibilities. And then it was all these issues coming about in every state and across the country, and then the government stepped in with, all right, so now we gotta come up with the welfare program, because people aren't working, people aren't doing this, so we gotta help people find houses, because if people aren't taking care of their own responsibilities. And then, all right, so outside of welfare, we're going to help you get food, we're going to help you get clothes, we're going to help you get housing, because people weren't doing what they needed to do for themselves, because they became dependent of others. And that's why the government came in. So now it looks like this whole thing with, the abortion is because people aren't being responsible again with their bodies. Mm-hmm. So now the government has to step in and say, all right, now we're going to have to create these laws, because you don't know, you can't handle your own affairs, you don't know how to handle yourself, when it comes to sex and reproducing, because you're having these babies, and then not only are you having these babies, you're having these babies because and if you look at these states, I'm sure the drug use and abuse is probably high, because we're not the ones that are getting high on heroin and all these
We are
other
absolutely
crazy
not.
drugs.
Nope.
We smoke weed and we're good. But if you go to these other states and you look at these, the other people, the other races, or we're all one race. But if you look at these other cultures, because you have it's a culture, and the people that really live this culture are white people, and white people have the highest rate of heroin use and opium and all these other
Meth and
drugs.
all of that.
And so I can only imagine how many of these white girls are getting pregnant every time they get high, or how many white boys is knocking up chicks because they didn't know what they was doing. So now they got to regulate these laws. Like, all right, listen, this is getting out of control. The same thing with drinking. They got to come up with these laws where it's like, all right, if your alcohol levels at this point is at this level, then you're getting arrested if you're caught in a vehicle, because too many people driving under the influence and killing other people or causing damages to other people. So they had to come out with these laws. So the reason why the government is doing what they're doing is because people don't handle their affairs. What I'm saying is, it starts at home. People have forgotten, it's not about a perfect world. It's just that people make excuses about why they can't do this and they can't do that, but they find a reason to do everything else that they shouldn't be doing.
Because you got to talk to your kids.
So the government
you
stepped
got to talk to your
in
kids.
basically because.
Because people make excuses.
But you can't
Okay,
say
so
that
they
because
saying
remember,
that
you were a
since you
teenager,
making
your mom was like,
excuses
don't go outside,
without
don't
being
do this, but you still
responsible
did it.
to have
Yeah, I
sex,
went outside.
we're going to come in and
I'm
make you
just saying in
responsible
general.
and
Right.
say you're going to have that baby and learn
Right.
from this. Is that
But
what
the
that
thing
is?
is, we know that
Is
that
that
doesn't
what the
work
government's
because
saying?
that's how babies end up in trash cans. That's how, that's my point. Is that we can't, if you keep, they get to that point. That's just like we say, you can't stop your kids from having sex, but you might teach them to have safe sex. You might teach them certain things. Absolutely. But if the parent themselves don't have that information, who is passing it? Like we've had this conversation before. You can say parent all you want. Bottom
parents
line
are good
is
parents.
right.
But
So even if it's like
Even
the
as an
influences, it's
Alright.
they
See, I'm
need
kinda
somebody
confused.
else has to do it.
I guess because the only thing that will confuse me about that part is, and I kind of sort of get it, but if I had a kid, there's no way that I don't have resources to talk to my kid about safe sex. I had a kid.
Exactly.
I wedlock or especially out of wedlock. Mine are out of wedlock. I had a kid. I didn't have safe sex. I know what I should have did and I could have did, and I didn't. So now I know what to tell mine, so they
Exactly.
do that. So we have that resource.
Responsibility.
We have that. Yeah, we have that response. I mean, it's not about
So
you take them to CVS.
It's the
So I'll
resource,
answer-
but everybody's not a
I'll
good
answer the
parent.
question.
Right, everybody's
So
not
now
a
But
you
good
have
you're-
these
you're
kids
talking
out
about-
here that
Right.
We too
What are they gonna
often
do?
say, but me. But you are somebody that has all your senses. You are someone who can think critically for yourself, and you still made those decisions. So what I'm saying is we forget that there are people. Think about when you walk down the street, the damaged people that we come across on a regular basis. The mothers that you see in the store, you're like, what the hell is she doing? Why is she talking to that child like that? The fathers that are dragging the kids, or not everybody has the capacity to pass on the information. So if we keep saying, well, if the parent's not going to do it, then it's not going to get done. It has to be other ways to get the information to people.
Again,
And that's why schools, that's the real reason schools have been put in place, is because those are supposed to be considered the safe havens for kids. It's where kids go to make sure that they're not being abused by the parents. We wouldn't have DHS and CYS and everything else if everybody was a good parent.
When
If
did
everybody
DHS
could think,
I get it.
I'm not
I get
gonna
it.
go there with you. I'm not, because we won't
because-
keep it very specific. The
Uh-huh.
bottom line is it exists. I
What
don't
he's
care
saying-
why.
what he's
I don't
saying is
care
that
why,
because-
but it exists.
Because the family structures
But
have
it
broken down. This
exists.
is why we got all
Exactly.
this.
So
That's why
it
we got all
exists,
Yeah,
and
and
this
it-
is why we now have to deal with the way things are, not the way things were. We're talking about today.
Yeah, but see, you can't deal with today if you don't address how we got here
How we
today.
got-
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah, you definitely
and-
address it.
And the
I mean,
parents,
it may not work, but
the
you gotta
parents that you see today, you see this mother in the market and she's like talking to her kid all crazy and everything. That parent is within the last 30 to 35, maybe 40 years. Because prior to that, Big Mama wasn't talking to you like that.
Right, and we were just
Right.
talking about that
You
the
know,
other day.
so again, to my point, after a certain point, and after a certain generation, all that got lost.
So,
Because-
so what's the help? What's the hope for the kid then?
That's my point.
The hope
What?
for the kid
I don't
is
can't
mind
get
the
it from
sex
his-
But
education in
I
school.
think what
Zachary
she's
has
saying
it
though
in
is that
school.
at this
I
point
don't-
we so
we'll talk
far
about that in a
gone
second.
that it might not be correctable. Like what you saying is basic, right? When
Everything's
you say
correct.
that, oh, we got to get back to family and do this.
Right, we know that.
But
part.
at this
But
point, dog, it's so
Everybody
far
ain't
gone
right.
that it's kinda like we
we
can
have
say
to
that.
look at
but
all
it's
other,
very-
other
but it's
alternatives.
not.
Is
But
what
it's
I'm
not.
saying.
Do
You
y'all
have
think
to-
that
Kinda
sex
is.
education being taught in
I
school
don't
is
think it's so
wrong?
far gone.
We gonna
Right.
segue into
Wrong.
this child support thing?
No, because my kids do like.
It's already too
I
far
asked
gone.
about sex education. in
So
school.
remember, and I know we
It's all right.
received it, and they're still receiving it. In 5th and 6th grade, they did the whole thing with puberty and all of that, and they talk a little bit about it.
Right.
Now, I do believe, like, so again, for me, I understand that I can then have that conversation with my kids.
Right.
But guess what? My mom, I remember when I came with my cycle, and I was like, Mom, I'm bleeding. Didn't they teach you that in school? Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I didn't know that's what it
Yes,
was.
and that was the beginning
So-
of the laziness.
Right.
The
But
beginning
that's,
of
I won't-
I
but
don't
I
have
won't-
time.
I won't say it's not
I don't
necessarily-
have time to talk to my daughter about it. Period, because I'm expecting her school to talk to her about it.
No, maybe
I don't have time to talk to my
Some
son
people don't know how to
about-
talk to their kids.
They-
about
Some
it.
people are. I was about to say because again,
Why
back
they
in the day,
uncomfortable?
you
Listen,
weren't
it was
talking
taboo.
about
No,
that.
but I'm
You
saying,
weren't allowed to
y'all
talk
are
about
mothers.
that.
Y'all are mothers. Why are y'all uncomfortable to talk to y'all
I
babies?
never said
But
we
they
were.
are
No, I'm
We
just
never
saying
said
as
we were.
women. I'm saying y'all are
I'm not-
mothers. I'm
But
not
where
saying
our
that as a mother.
generation is different.
Right, but I
So
wasn't-
again, back in the day, I remember my daddy would say, he was like, look at what they have on TV, tampons. And there was a time where you better go in a corner somewhere and bleed. Like nobody wants to know that you're on your cycle.
Yeah, because that
Things
became
had-
a taboo in the black
Absolutely.
household.
Exactly. But
And
that's the
again-
point, believe that's what we're saying is that we know where it comes from. We have to progress it forward, and we have to figure out different ways to progress it forward. So it starts with, my mom was that way. I decided I wasn't going to be that way.
Right.
I bought my kids books when they were like way before they even started their cycles. I bought them books that talked about it, and they were comfortable asking me questions because they till this day know when we on our long journey to and from school, they'll ask me questions. My daughter's comfortable to talk to me about boys. Me and my mom didn't have that relationship, so I had to make a conscious effort. Again, I wasn't comfortable with it because that's not how I was raised. So I had to I had to force myself out of my comfort zone and say, I know from my training, right? Because I'm in the mental health and behavioral health field, I know from my training that this is going to be more beneficial to my child. They need to have all the information possible. So if anybody tries to touch them, if anybody tries to do anything to them, they know what to do. I had to, from the time that they could talk, had the conversation of nobody, and I mean nobody can touch you in these areas. When they got a little older, not me, not your dad can touch you in these areas. Once they started washing themselves, that's it. Nobody. But again, I developed this information and I became comfortable because I was trained in it and I had to make a conscious effort. I was not comfortable. But for the
Everybody.
betterment of my child, I had to get uncomfortable and
Right,
deal
but
with
Rima,
it.
like with your son, okay, because I can admit, as open and freely as y'all know I already am, okay, it's really difficult for me to talk to, what's this generation? What's the letter?
Millennials.
What, no,
No,
what's
they're not millennials.
17, what are they?
They
X.
teenagers.
No, they're not even us. They like,
millennials.
yeah.
They millennials.
Are they, whatever they are, I don't like it. So, Mom, come on, stop, don't talk to me about that. Like, it's really,
And it's really on, well, I can say for me, it's really, oh my God, Mom, you're so inappropriate, you're so
right,
embarrassing.
so that's
I'm
really
open, like, I bought
I'm
them the
open,
books
but then
and all
that's
that.
when it's like, I'm like,
They
all right, I don't, like, you know, when I thought about it, and I'm like, all right, I know he's doing it. I can just tell by his
That's what-
attitude.
that's
Like, I
more
can tell
like a
by his
traditional
swag and
thing,
his
right?
attitude.
Oh,
So I was
right.
like, how am I going to
From
talk
the
to him?
door.
And I'm like, all right, Zach, yo, come on, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but, I mean,
and I'm
how
like,
long
how
did you
you
wait
good?
to have that conversation with him?
He was probably like 14.
All
I
right,
figured
so
he was about to
prior
smell
to
it.
14, there was conversations about it. 14, like, yo, we ain't never talked about this.
No. never would to. It was
No, I didn't. No, I
There's
didn't.
no PPs
I
and
didn't.
BBs. There's always penis, there's
Yes,
vagina.
exactly.
Like you said, nobody can touch you here because I knew friends and family that worked in the school system. They, sucking dicks in kindergarten, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I had to do
always,
it. Yeah, see,
I knew that, so I talked to them very, very, very early.
Yeah.
My kids, like my son came in a couple of times, but now he's older and he's embarrassed because now he's older. But he was younger. We would talk. My daughter, we would talk.
She wouldn't talk. Normally, you don't talk. You wouldn't talk with that type of stuff about your mom, though.
Yeah, but
That's
some
just
like
like-
my mom
That's
told
why
me
some
about that when I
people-
was 7 and 8.
You
It's
would
no
talk about that
choice.
with
My
your
mom
dad.
talked
Well,
to me
guess
when I was
what?
12.
I know
For
for
a
boys,
guy,
right,
right?
right.
For a
Well,
man.
but I
sometimes
mean,
men ain't
you know,
around.
We're raising our sons.
And your
By
daughter's
ourselves.
Sometimes men ain't
Right,
around.
he's in the house with me. So
Yeah.
guess what? I'm gonna have this conversation because you live with me now. I'm gonna call his dad. Like, listen,
They're not gonna have a real conversation.
Listen, I said,
Oh,
listen,
right.
you need to have talk with him because now he's
Right.
getting older. But I told my son, like, listen, you feel like because I think he feels more comfortable talking to me because his dad is like, he would never talk to them like that. Like I know he went by the book when they were little because it's like,
Right.
oh no, this not if
You're not supposed to
I don't say it, it's not happening.
Right.
If I don't acknowledge it, it's not happening. So you have those parents out there that's like that.
Exactly.
They
If I
exist.
bring it up, they're going to realize that it's out there. All of a sudden, they're going to start doing it.
Oh,
No,
I'm talking
they
about
already
it.
know.
Yeah, see,
Their
I'm glad my
friends are
son
talking
has an
about
older
it.
brother, so that's who he talked to all the time in reference to that. Because when I would go to, like I said, I didn't even think about those kind of issues when Zachary's 3, 4, and 5. Why?
I did.
I didn't have to think about that. I didn't need
did.
to. They was fine. I
Mhm.
didn't need to. I really didn't. I always knew where they was at every millisecond of the day. They was fine. They fine.
But here's
So
the
now,
reason why
if you're a
because you
parent-
have, but you
Well,
have
when
kids
he
in
got-
school.
When he got to them fresh little girls.
Right,
sixth
so
grade,
you guys
then I
Sixth
was
grade.
then.
Yeah.
Listen,
Then-
second grade.
Second grade.
See, I ain't
They
had-
giving Wallies
They
in second
charge
grade.
$1 for
Yes.
$1. They go in the back and it's
See, I ain't had
real. And like
I-
second
Lord
grade,
Jesus,
first grade,
goodness,
second
wait till I
grade.
get a hold of Leo.
Yeah,
too.
so now,
Yeah.
so when you look at parents now,
I'm gonna be like,
and,
void
and this
never.
whole abortion stuff is all in the news.
Right.
Like, so,
You have to have that conversation.
do you have that conversation with your
You
children?
have to.
Or do you don't? Because
I
it's
think
like, or is
that
it
you
taboo?
feel like you're gonna have
or
to.
is it against your religion to talk about it? Like, because you got all these things that parents are like, oh, well, the Lord is going to work it out or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, all right, when this child is out there, somebody else gets a hold of him, what do you do? Because, like, this whole abortion thing, it, to me, it's like if you talk to your child about it, again, don't let anyone touch your hair, and if someone touches your hair, I don't care what they tell you, you come and talk to me about it because I'm the one that's going to protect you. I'm the one that's providing for you. So if you're having those conversations with your children, I don't think that, a topic like this would be uncomfortable to talk, to discuss with.
Not if you
Right.
are.
No.
But what I'm saying
She's
is
saying-
that, again,
she's
for
saying to get
me
the
working
tools,
in the
though.
field that I work in, I know for a fact there are a lot of people out there that still, you guys don't understand, like if you go to certain parts of West Philly, there are people who have moved 10 times, all 10 times were within West Philly. They have not moved outside of West Philly. Their mindset is still from years and generations of living in West Philly. And so we're here, you talk about Penn's Land and not a clue, never been there, and that's down the street. So there's so many people that are closed in. So my thing is that you have to have other alternatives if we want to say we want these kids to be educated, we want them to have the information. If the parents can't get it, where else can they get it? So again, whether it's a community center, a nonprofit organization, or the school. Again, I always say school because it's law to go to school, right? Yes, they can get homeschool and things like that, but majority of kids have to go to school. So that's the place
So
where
is
when
it
there's
law,
something that's
or is it
pertinent.
a statute, or is it like a demand that
For what?
to go to school? Because what's the law that states?
You have to go to school. Let you go to
No,
school.
but I'm just asking because a lot of people talk about the law this and the law that. But
I
then
know
it's like,
for a fact that that's the law.
Which
Because
law-
they
which
will
law is that?
absolutely.
Which law
yeah.
is that? Which law is
I
that?
don't know the exact.
Right, I'm about to say, right. I
Alright,
can't give you the
because-
number, but I know for a fact that there's parents that have gone to jail
Yeah, they'll come up
because
when you're
the
doing-
child
Yeah.
did not go to school.
Okay, but my thing is like
Even
I've
if they're
read the
late, they
Constitution,
come.
and within the Constitution, I haven't read anywhere within the Constitution.
But all the
That
laws are
says-
in the Constitution.
All the laws are in the Constitution.
Or not.
All right, because if you read the Constitution will tell you that this is law, and that anything passed after this is not considered or has to be voted in. So if the people aren't voting it in, then it's not law.
Well, that's a big
So who's
fight.
saying that it's law?
Right.
That's a big fight.
You know, and
They
a lot
come
of
to
times,
the
like,
door.
you know,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
no, but the point I'm trying to make is we hear these words, and it's like once you say it's the law, people just, oh my God,
But we're not
no,
doing
but
our
no one
research.
does our research.
Right.
No one does the due diligence to go look up, okay, what's the statutes or what's the code, and what's this, and where does it come from, and who voted it in, and how was it ratified or whatever. No one does the research, but everyone is just quick to just follow suit because somebody said it was a law or somebody said it was something, you know, it was a trend or whatever. And
Well,
so
when
it's
I
like,
know that people go into jail, I
Right,
consider
you
that a
see,
law.
right, you saying police
Just
come
because
to
you
It's
go
jail.
to
not
jail doesn't-
hearsay.
It's right.
Just because
No,
you
but
go
it's
to-
still a law. Like they
Yeah,
can't
but
put
listen,
you in
the
jail.
law is
unless-
right.
Right.
But
Right.
again, you look in the Constitution, and the Constitution states that there are only two laws that can be broken. And the first law is that you don't cause any injury to anyone. And then the second law is that you don't cause any damage to someone's property. So if my child didn't go to school, who's the injured party and who's gotten damages from that? That's my question. But then, yeah, there are, you know, within the Constitution there are amendments. But that were put in the Constitution. But then when you look at these amendments, you got to ask yourself, does that apply to me? And if it applies to me, how does it apply to me?
Well, in
So there's
reference
a
to
lot of
sex,
things-
we can't depend
No,
on
but
the
I'm just
schools to
saying,
teach our
even
kids
with
that.
sex,
Exactly.
I mean,
we
but
can't.
even with sex,
The education we
you
get.
know, even with sex, I mean, everything that people talk about, well, it's the law to do this and it's the law to do that. So now it's a law against, you know, you're breaking the law if you're going and have an abortion. So who are the people making these laws? Who voted it in? Because I'm sure if you go look in Alabama, the people who make Alabama, how many of them voted that in?
Right.
Just like
What
all
they
these
look like.
laws that are passed in each
How
state.
many women on that?
Yeah, how many people
Oh,
voted
absolutely.
that
How many
in?
people come?
So you
Right.
gotta question
Right,
these things, and then when you know, so again, it comes to, you can't tell me that. Well, you know, people just don't know, and people don't want to know because again, when it goes to sex, I'm a man. I didn't know anything about fucking, but as soon as I saw pussy in my face, I figured out, okay, I need to put this in there because this just got excited. You know, it wasn't no book or nothing. I didn't have to go research or anything like that. It was just a reaction. So again, you didn't know how to have sex, but you figured that shit out. You got children, but you make excuses about not teaching your children or educating your children because you don't know how. Well, figure that out just like you figured out how to fuck.
Well, that's what I said.
But then you
You
look
know,
at it this
if I
way.
made it, I
Look at
should
this,
know how
Billy.
to-
Though.
I mean, like,
Easier said than done, buddy.
It's very
no, but I
easy
mean,
to
the
say
people make
that.
excuses. To me, I
This
hear
is the world we
excuses.
live in. Everybody makes excuses.
Yeah, we live in a world of
everybody's not going to be
excuses.
on the straight and narrow though.
But it's not about the straight and narrow. It's just about when are you going to get out of the making excuses bubble.
So what is so
You know,
what's going to
why are
happen
you
to the kids?
broke?
Because I ain't got no job.
Well, why ain't you got no job?
Well, I mean, I put out applications, but I ain't getting no job.
How many applications you put out?
I put out like one last week.
Nigga, you don't want no job then if you put out one application. You know, so it's like it's an excuse as to if you don't have a job. It's an excuse if you don't have a business. It's an excuse if you're not making money. It's an excuse if you're not healthy. It's an excuse if you're not getting or living the way that you think you should be living or feel you should be living because you're not putting the time in to invest in yourself to say, okay, how can I do this? How can I figure that out? You went and got the education or the knowledge to figure out, you know, what you wanted to do. You know, so therefore, if someone else is like, wow, I wanted to, be in that, and it's like, well, what are you doing? Well, I mean, I be, looking at, I be watching YouTube videos, and then at that point, you like, man, you ain't serious. At that point, you're looking at them like, you ain't serious. But if they said, yeah, well, I took some summer classes at community,
Right.
and I did this and I did that, and now you're gonna be like, oh, this person's really putting in
Right,
work.
those who help
And let me-
themselves type of
Yeah,
situation. Absolutely.
let me give you some, a couple of these, call this person, go to this one. But for the parent who's sitting there like, well, I just didn't know how to talk to my child, but you got Gucci, you got Louis Vuitton, and you got all these other things, and it's like, well, where you get that Gucci bag from? Where you get that Prada bag from? Well, I did this, but you can't pay for your child to get tutoring sessions
Right.
or
So
whatever.
here's the thing.
So
that
it's like, again,
today,
it's excuses.
it is
It's
to
going to
a
always be
certain
excuses
extent.
for some people.
Right.
It's going to have.
I'm about to say to a certain
It doesn't
extent.
matter. What you're saying is the ideal way that you should you talk to your children, teach your children, have them, and raise them. But everybody's not like that. Now, is it the kids' fault that their parents are idiots? No.
No, it's not
Is
the
it
kids' fault.
or is their fault that their parents have old ways that they can't change? So what happens to these kids? So now we're talking about, okay, we got the parents over here. They doing what they supposed to do, teaching the kids and stuff. And then you got kids that's come from good households that's taught everything the right way you supposed to do it, and they still a fuck up.
Right.
And you're looking at them like, is that my child?
Right.
I know damn well
Yeah, but at that
I didn't
point-
teach my child this, or I didn't teach my child that. I knew this. She could talk to me, but she wanted to do what the fuck she wanted to do.
Right.
But then the first thing come out of somebody's mouth is, wow, what her parents did. What's up with her parents? Like, man, look, I'm good. That's her little crazy ass. She wanted to fucking go out there and do what the fuck she wanted to do in spite of everything, every moral and every fiber of my being. That's not what I taught her.
Yeah, and then
This is not what I'm about.
You can just plant
Yeah.
the seed. That's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
that's
but
all
that's
you can do is
what they
plant
do
the
when
seed
they
and
grow
water
up.
it and
And
pray
water
to
it.
God they
And
grip
yeah.
onto it.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
unless that child gets, comes to their senses, they're going to be that child that's going to be in the system.
Okay,
You know,
now.
on welfare and this and that,
Okay,
whatever.
so
at
now
that
let's
point,
talk about
it's
the
like,
kids.
all right,
And
whatever.
then their peers.
So now what's
they're
the kids
hanging
gonna
around,
do?
it's all
So now with the kids that don't have these
Well,
parents at home, what are we gonna do?
again, it's choice.
Okay, that's when the schools come
Again,
in.
it's choice. Because these same kids got these smartphones and they can sit there and you know, there's shows out there, you know, like, you know, Real Housewives and all that stuff. But I've watched a couple episodes, and then even in some of those episodes, they tell you what you can do for yourself.
So
But they don't get that. They don't hear that part. All they see is, well, she dressing like this and she dressing like that. I want to dress like that. So it's not that the information is not out there, because even these shows, as hood or as ghetto as you might want to say they are, they're still giving you some pertinent information that child who's 14, 15 years old can say, well, you know, if she came from nothing and she was able to make it to be on television or start her own business, because a lot of those women have their own businesses. The show might be hood and all that stuff, but they have their own businesses. They have a product line or whatever, clothing line. So at the end of the day, this child who's watching that and chooses to still make an excuse and be a bum or be nothing or you know, not live up to anything, it's their choice.
But do you
well,
champion
no,
them getting it that way?
You know?
that child don't know how to get there because their parents are their
Somebody-
surroundings.
No, but what I'm
Ain't
asking
showing
is
them
the point,
how
to the
to
point
go.
that you made.
It's like
Do you
they
champion
stuck.
getting it by any means?
I
Because in
don't.
some of them cases, what you said
Yo,
is,
some of them,
I-
some
Alright.
of them it was by any means.
I don't.
But
I mess with the dope dealing nigga to get me to shop, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or I did
Like
it, or I
the
go to Cardi
Cardi
B
B.
route and I strip and then
Oh,
I
right.
transition. So
But see, these people had a plan. The thing, a lot of
no, I understand that. But what I'm saying is,
But no, I mean, if
most of that
we're
stuff
talking-
give you as negative.
Listen,
So do you champion the
She wasn't
negative
planning
for
on
the
doing
kids
it.
to take that and then say?
listen, she had to get up every day and say, you know what, I'm gonna rob these niggas today and whatever.
But that don't
was
work
the
out for
plan.
everybody.
It
That's-
don't work out for everybody.
That's like the
but-
kids with the drug dealer rap, right? And they go, yo, he was a drug dealer, and then he transitioned to this.
Yeah,
So-
So if you
That's
put
what
that,
I'm gonna do.
Well,
But-
what I'm saying is,
but
you
there
put
was
that
a
image
plan.
out.
There was a plan. I mean, like, listen.
But you know, how you gonna pick up on the plan though? What
That's
I'm saying
my
is, you just see.
You don't know.
You
This is
see
what he was
you
doing.
see,
Yeah,
there's
you
no
see what you see,
interpretation. There's nobody
interpretation.
teaching.
But
And
I'm
nobody
not
there's no
really
one
guides
teaching
explaining
on
the
how to
plan
get
yeah,
there.
but there's no
stuff.
one teaching.
To make
That's
that
why
But,
the kids get
transition.
lost
but at the same time,
with the generational curse.
you can Google that person that you're looking up to who used to be the drug dealer, whatever, and then you can see that a lot of them have documentaries. A lot of them do have stories of how they got there. Yeah, you know, once I got this money, I took myself back to school and I learned finances, and I took my back to school and I learned accounting or I learned whatever, and they learned whatever it is that they want. Like anything that you want to get into, you need to do the research on it. And so a
But
lot of these kids are
research in
skipping
its-
that.
Research in
but it's still
itself is a
numbers
skill.
game, though.
Right.
But research in itself is a skill to interpret. This is what I see, and this is how I turn this into that, or two different things. Even for me, yes, I have a business. I went to school. I did all these things, but I honestly feel like, yeah, I could have gone a lot further, a lot faster, had I had someone guiding me a little more. Whether it's in the workforce, whether it's in
Finances,
entrepreneurship, whether it's finances. Again, I
Right,
did do the
whatever.
research, but it's like, damn, like, you know how many, you know, minds I had to hit before I got to that point? How many, like, I'm still stumbling over obstacles versus if somebody said, listen, do X, Y, Z. This is, so my thing is that
That's what
if we
mentors are
keep
for.
saying, that's
You
my
still might not.
point.
You still
That's
might not have
my
listened
point.
though.
Yeah,
But you
But
can't
listen.
count that out. I say that all the time. You can never count it out. If you pay attention to kids, best believe, especially when you don't want them to hear you, When you think they're not paying attention, they,
They
absolutely are. So my thing is, you say it anyway. You do it anyway. You lead by example anyway. And then you can say, you didn't take my advice? Cool. Now that's on you because I gave you the information and you chose not to use it. My point in all of this is, from beginning to end, no matter what the subject matter is, that children, they don't know and they don't have enough information to ask the right questions. But we as the adults have to be able to say at some point, I'm going to be responsible for somebody else besides myself, for somebody else besides my kids. So again, that's why we volunteer. That's why we take my child's cousin friend down the street. And when I take them to go volunteer, I take that child as well so that they get to see what life is like. When I go take my kids on a college tour, I'm taking a cousin whose parent never went to college before and don't know what to do. Again, my mom didn't go to college, so you know what she did? She sent me to my aunt and my uncle who did go to college. I went into an environment where it was more positive and people were on a different track. I could definitely say if I was in that same environment that I was in before, 9 times out of 10 wouldn't have made it. So we have to kind of have some other responsibility when it comes to these issues. So the going back to the abortion thing, we have to as adults say, listen, especially as guys, listen, come on. We're not even going to go there. Because if you don't want to support them, you don't want to go to child support court or whatever the case may be, you need to be more responsible.
But even
But
as girls,
somebody has to tell
I think it's the girls.
we
Girls
need
do.
all, oh yeah, the girls are super fast.
The
Those girls are super
Today.
fast.
I don't know. You gotta,
Yeah, the girls
and-
are.
They are.
The aggressive.
And in these
They
states,
are.
the girls are going to be the ones that pay the price.
Absolutely.
Period. Bottom line. If it's my child and she's heck with the rape part. If my child is out there and she's 12, all right, she's just out there like that. She's just quick, and she gets pregnant. There is absolutely nothing she can do if she lives here. Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
bro, so now-
She is stuck having a child, missing school. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. And who's raising a kid? I didn't ask for the kid.
Why
Why do I gotta pay for that?
and who's going to pay for the dinner? Then who's going to do it if the parents don't?
The boy
can't
don't
do
have
it?
no job because he's 12 too.
But what if the parents on welfare?
So then it turns to the parents,
Exactly.
the parents of both
It's the
families.
government.
Who am I taking to child support court? The parent?
So now is the parent going to jail because it's a law? It's like, again, it comes down. I mean,
It's self-destruction.
I mean, I think that's
just
really,
like
I think that's really
it comes down
scary
to
though.
education
It's
because
definitely.
if people just learned the system, like the art of war says, in order for you to win the battle, you have to know your enemy and know thyself. So a lot of people hate the government but don't know why.
How many people read Art of War?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying is like a lot of people hate the government, but then when you ask them why, I don't know, I just hate them, man. They got these laws and they got this and they do this and they do that. And I'm like, all right, well, are you using any government benefits?
I'm telling you, we're having a segment.
Are you using your social? Well, yeah. And with that social, what are you doing? Well, I mean, I'm getting these benefits. I'm on Medicaid and I got this. I bet you hate the government. You wouldn't have none of that if it wasn't for the government. So if you're gonna hate the government, get off of their support and then manage and handle your own affairs. But people don't understand why they hate the government.
And now the government telling you when you can have an abortion.
Right, I was gonna say, but the bottom line is
So
right
the
now.
government, we didn't ask for them for that.
Well, you didn't have to ask for that because you didn't. When they came out with Social Security and Medicaid and all that stuff, they put it out there and everybody went running for it.
Okay, now let's
You
get
know,
back with the
so
abortion.
now all these people.
So you gotta take the good with the bad, then. Basically,
You gotta take the good with the bad. But here's the thing: all these people that are using these benefits are causing the government more money.
And
Every
they
time
getting
you
ready
use
to
the
cost the
government-
government 10,000 more with this abortion law.
Right.
No, but here's
Because
the thing.
now you got a bunch of kids that wasn't wanted, that some people
Yeah,
made to
people
have. No,
Yeah.
who's going to take care
And
of
it's
them?
gonna be
If
more
you can't
people
take
in
care of
these
them,
states
you got to apply
right
for
on
more
welfare
assistance
and all-
to take
yeah.
care of these kids. Which
Yeah,
then
but
now
see, but
is
there's-
more people
there's-
on
and
welfare
they're
because
trying
you
to get
baby
rid of that.
had these kids.
Well,
Then it's
not-
going to be more kids in the mental health issues
Yeah.
because next thing you know, I didn't want you anyway.
Right.
They going to have mental issues and they're going to be going through things. So
Yeah.
that means the medical care is going to go up.
Yeah,
but
but
who's
guess
going to
what?
pay for the medical
And
care?
You are.
The government.
No, the government's
The
not
government
paying for it.
change.
The government's not paying
No,
for
no,
it because guess
the
what?
taxes
The
gonna pay
taxes
for
in those
it.
states are gonna go up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in all the states that have taken up this law, the taxes are gonna go up because they're gonna have to create more money to be able to pay for all this extra debt that's being
Alright.
put up upon.
So now
But listen,
the government
when taxes go up,
Yeah.
when taxes go up,
Mhm.
the states make more money. When
Okay.
taxes go up, the feds make more money.
And they're
who
gonna spend
suffers?
more money.
Who suffers? The ignorant person that won't pick up a book. Because guess what? The IRS manual's out there. It's
So
free.
is the reason the
You
children?
know.
Is,
want everybody
is
to
the
read.
children's
Listen,
fault?
man.
It's all about
So
reading.
reading is
Niggas
all
got
about.
jobs.
So if you're not
It's
gonna
all
read,
about.
if you're not gonna read, then don't complain
We don't got
about
time
these
to be
laws.
reading
Because
Art
I don't
War.
have no
Wow.
problem with the
We watched the
government.
movie.
I love the government.
You watch the movie.
You know.
Yeah, we get the cliff
Well,
notes. You're not reading that
Because
shit.
like if you ask me, the government ain't doing nothing wrong. Because without the government, these ignorant
Did you read
people
Cliff
out
Notes in
here
college?
would be asked
You read the
out.
Cliff
Right,
Notes.
but-
The movie, right? You wasn't.
In reference
So-
to the law, do you agree with it?
Whether I agree with it or not, I know how to handle my own affairs. So I'm not
So he ain't gonna say what he agree with it.
In
I'm not
reference to
gonna have no-
passing
Here's the
the
thing.
bill,
I'll say this.
do we agree
and
with
they're
I'll say
right.
Do you agree with
I'll
the
say
abortion
this.
law or not?
I'll say
right,
this.
taking away a woman's right to choose.
Exactly.
Well, if
Because
that
that's the-
woman, if that woman doesn't know her rights,
I said yes or no. but
then
no.
she's gonna lose it.
Well, she lost them in these 8 states.
Exactly, because she
And
didn't
that's
know.
cool.
Huh?
That's cool though.
Yeah, it's cool.
Child.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right.
Just like if you know, if
Hold
you're
it
like,
in, Naomi. Hold it in. We ain't got that kind of
Yeah,
time.
I ain't got that time. Like what?
because guess
Okay.
what?
All the women in the room
Because
fancy.
this- if you give someone,
They all
if you
like,
give
oh my
someone,
God.
if you give someone something, all right, you give like, cause right
I
now
plead the
the
fifth.
government is everyone's father right now because everyone is dependent of the government, the ignorant ones. So if your dad gave you something and you didn't know what to do with it, he has every right to take it back, and he has every right to tell you what to do if you don't know how to handle your own affairs. Because as a father,
Who taught you how to handle
As a
those
father,
affairs if
as
you
a-
didn't do it?
Listen,
So if you
you can't-
okay, so this is the thing is
You gonna let me finish?
if you don't read,
all right,
if you don't read,
Exactly.
your parents are assholes. You fucked. Cause you know what? It ain't the job. It ain't the job. I mean, it's not the school's responsibility to teach you shit. Cause your parents should have fucking taught you. If you ain't got a
it's not about
job,
the
no. But if you ain't got a
Go ahead.
job, you should have been fucking reading up on how to get a fucking job.
Right?
Right? But no, your mom couldn't read, your dad couldn't read. Ain't nobody teach you how to read. But that's your fucking fault because you supposed to learn how to read from somewhere. From where? School. Why you gotta go to school? It's a law. You ain't gotta go to school to read. So how you gonna read the book to get further if you can't go to fucking school?
Yeah,
So you know what?
yeah.
Fuck it. So you know what?
Grandma,
Then you gonna sit there and you gonna get pregnant at 9 and you gonna have this baby, and then you got mom and dad that's fucked up from the door from some other generations. We can't deal with this shit from the past. But that shit is gone. Leroy done fucked fucking Susan, and now they cousins. They got this fucking baby that's fucked up. Now you don't want no fucking help for the baby. They can't read and go to school because they can't go to school. Now it's like, now what we gonna do? Now they get now the little Diana is already fucked up because she from incest. So now she's sitting there. She ain't gonna have a job because she ain't right.
Alright.
So now she getting mental health.
And that's
All right,
my
that's
point,
SSI for more taxes for people, and then on top of that, there's more costs for the states to take care of her and all the babies she gonna fucking have
Right.
because she ain't right and she
Exactly.
can't abort. So she just at the group home
And
getting
that was the
raped
other
and shit
thing,
and
because
having
there's
sex with
people with
everybody,
special
and she
needs.
don't know her body and nobody taught her because she can't go to school and read.
That's right.
So she just fucked.
That's right.
So it's survival of the fittest.
That's right.
Fuck it. All right. I just wanted to make sure I got it.
But,
I'm good now.
You good?
that was what if Diane had
I'm
any
good.
sense?
That was vicious.
I'm good.
Yeah, but you good?
I just want to good now.
All right.
No, I just want to know if I was right. I had no catching.
Welcome back, Burrito.
But that's what it
You all right.
Wait, I'm about to move. He pushing me over my arm while I
is.
did
You're like, oh, you gotta get out the way. You told me that you gotta get out the way. We told
Everything you said is right.
Get up!
Everything you said is right, and everything you said makes sense, and everything you said happens. But the opposite also happens.
Read, people.
The opposite, whereas
You better read.
I guess
yeah,
that's the
both
solution to
your
all
parents
this.
couldn't read, right?
Read.
So therefore, because they couldn't read, they couldn't afford to send you to school, right?
Mhm.
You know, but at what point do you, as Cassie, say, you know what? I can't live the rest of my life like this. Let me go find a library or find somebody who can read and ask them if they can teach me. And then if one person says no, you quit. That's on you. If you say, all right, fuck, that's just one person. You go to the next person, and then you get to the 100th person. That person is like, yeah, come on, I'll teach you how to read. Now, Diane had a choice.
Can you volunteer with me this
man,
summer?
Exactly. And what
I
if your
want you to
parents say,
volunteer with
don't
me this
tell
summer.
nobody nothing goes on in this house?
I want you to
But go
volunteer with
this
me
house,
this
stay in this house.
Yeah,
Don't
and
tell
where did that
nobody
come
you
from?
can't.
Where did that come from? Where
Don't
did that
tell
come from?
nobody.
I think from what
You
you're
know.
saying, I feel like it's a piece of the part that you're leaving out.
No,
Because I feel like without all the tools,
Mhm.
most people in the toolbox, people basically figure out how to get by and get the things they want with what
By
they have.
any means necessary.
So some
that's
people-
the
some
part
people
that
can
you're
get- some people
missing.
can-
But to their level of
Listen,
life, some people
it
can get through
doesn't-
life without
to me,
reading and all of that.
I don't care if it's by any means necessary because white people existing by any means necessary. So the black people, you know, we want to turn the other cheek and make you know, so it's like, oh no, that's vulgar. I can't do that. You want me to do it? Oh no, I clean no toilets. You know, we too prideful, we too good, but you know,
That's just
The
black
new
people.
generation.
no,
These new
about
new-
I'm speaking about us. You know, because if you look at other cultures or other cultures,
Some of them is like that too.
yeah, some of them is like that too. And the ones that is like that are the ones that are faking it to make it and end up somewhere in a mental institute because it was too much for them to bear at some point. But the ones who think logically, who don't sit there and make excuses, the ones who sit there and say, all right,
Who is
listen,
that?
there's people out there. I mean, come on, just
No,
like this.
who's thinking logically?
No one's thinking like you say. No one's. The whole world is either needy or retarded.
No, in the
some
real
mental
world,
things.
dog, listen, out of 10 people, probably 3.5 people is actually
thinking like
going through this life with some
All
type
right,
of logic.
so that's 3 out of 10
Everybody
people,
else just
and
bump
there's
into
like
some
and there's
shit.
like 4 million people in this world.
All right,
So if you
and
break
then,
that
and
down,
then like you saying, them 3
you
people
know.
is teaching their kids, and the other 7.
all right,
they just
yeah.
So it's a world
and
full
the
of
rest
dummies
of the
out
world,
there.
Yeah,
yeah,
I just had a
the world.
conversation with somebody.
And they
That's
from-
why we work with kids because my
There is a
idea
world
is
full of
that
dummies out
And
there.
they gotta come in contact
Oh,
with my
Lord.
kids. I want
Them
them
and
to
all
There's a
that
world
kids
full of
gonna be
dummies
fun.
out there.
We'll watch that movie later.
You know, but at the same time,
on the wall.
everyone has choices. You know, so if you have, listen, if you have the mindset, if
No,
Yeah.
Belito's gonna let Belito rap his, and then I'm gonna go to you.
because
You gotta say something about what we.
Something?
I asked Belito, is he down with this? He said, yeah.
And then wait,
and then
wait
everybody
for
jumped
20
on
months,
it.
like 20 minutes later.
right,
Go
but
ahead.
yeah,
For the record, I'm
it's
not.
the
I'll
thing
say
is-
that. Just so I can stay cool with
I'm
y'all.
So we have one that's not born. I'm not born.
It's all right. I know the law.
I'm tired.
So
Okay.
again, if you know, but here's the thing: like everyone, you know, but all seriousness, we all have choices. You know, you made a choice that I'm not going to be like my, you know, how I was raised. I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to talk to my children. You made a choice on how you were going to raise your children. You made a choice on how you, and, you know, everyone in here has choices. So at the end of the day, we all have choices. Whether I'm going to choose to go out and sit in a corner for hours and only make $100 while the person I'm working for just made $100 grand, then that's my choice. Because I don't have enough common sense to say, well, let me learn his business or whatever. Because it's all about learning. I mean, if you watch American Gangster, yeah, he grew up in the streets and watched what people was doing, and he was like, all right, you know what? There's a middleman. I mean, if I get rid of the middleman, and you know, I'm gonna be
Everybody's
bigger
not
than
a
him.
leader.
Everyone's not a leader.
Everybody's
But
not
because
a leader.
no one, because here's the thing, everyone's not a leader.
Somebody gotta work.
Yeah, somebody does have to work. And that's why there's corporations, that's why there's employees and people who work for these corporations. Then you have entrepreneurs, people who build businesses and provide work for the government. I mean, for these people who are dependent on the government. But did you know, as an entrepreneur, if you have a company with at least 100 employees, that you'll get bigger tax breaks and you might not even have to pay taxes because you're providing work and you're actually helping the government? But no one is, oh, I don't know how to start a business, so I'm going to just be an employee. All right, well, then just be an employee. But what I'm saying is there's choices. When people make their choices and decisions based out of fear,
In these 8 states, we ain't got no choices.
man, listen,
That's
there's
Where
choices.
you go with that?
There's choices because the
That's the
people in
only
those
issue is
the
the
people in those
choice.
states who actually know the Constitution
my lip.
and all that stuff,
I know.
I bet you those people right there
Exactly. I'm
won't
like,
be-
yo,
won't
maybe
be-
there's something
won't be
in my
affected by
Maybe
that.
let
All
me
right,
take
Rima.
Rima, what say you?
All I want to say is it's a choice. So if someone chooses to be dumb,
Yeah,
that's their choice. Somebody chooses to be an entrepreneur,
That's
is
their
their
choice.
choice. That is what they choose to do.
Yes.
So now you have these laws over here. They're taking away the choice.
No, they're not.
They are taking away the choice.
No.
They're telling you, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, but they're talking to a
I believe-
specific group of
We're
people.
just speaking of Chris.
They're
Right.
talking
Women.
to a specific group
They're
of people.
talking
They
to
talking to women.
They're talking
They're
to
talking to
women.
women
They're talking
in
to
these
young
8 states
girls,
and
and they're
four
talking
more
to
pending.
doctors.
No, they're
Can you
not.
just imagine what's going to happen in New York?
No, they're not.
Naomi, go ahead.
No, they're not.
Oh, choice, and definitely choice when it comes to this, because again, like we started off with, I feel like situations are different. Again, I don't go off of, hypotheticals. I'm talking real life. I've seen and witnessed kids have kids by family members and everything else, and it's not good for any of those people involved for them to be forced into a situation like that. A sister raped by her brother and have a baby, and she was the one that was in a facility due to this thing that happened to her. So absolutely not. It shouldn't be taken
Not
away.
even mental.
Cass.
I'm sure I said all my shit right there. I ain't got time for nobody telling me if I can have an abortion or not. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with this.
Yeah, but
Until
they've
you,
been
when you
telling
hear
what to
a
do for
heartbeat,
years.
since and if you hear a heartbeat at 6 weeks, then you can't have an abortion. No, your brain's not deformed yet. If you have a heartbeat but your brain is dead, are you alive?
Right.
But you gonna make me do this? And I'm living in a box down on Market Street right now, and I just got pregnant. Got raped by Rudy, on the grate.
Name.
You know what I mean? So now I'm pregnant with Rudy child,
Yeah.
sleeping on a grate, and the government says, "Ah, ain't not my problem. You can have that kid." Then what am I do with it? I'm be on the grate with me?
So why are you living in the grave?
Yeah, we're not going
It
to.
don't matter.
Oh,
It's some shit might
Life
happen.
Life
Damn it.
happens.
I
Life
didn't read my
happens.
books,
Yeah, she wasn't
and it
ready.
didn't tell me about no fire insurance. and I got put out, and I couldn't find a place. I didn't have no budgeting skills, cause my mom and them ain't, they was hustlers. You know what I mean?
If they was hustling, then
No, I mean they was
knew
on the
numbers
street.
then.
They
knew numbers.
they ran
You in the
numbers.
street, you know numbers.
But you can't run numbers now.
All right, Kay.
It's not
So
about
what?
the numbers.
So
He
no, I
said-
don't none of it.
He tried to keep the peace.
No, I mean, honestly speaking, abortions are welcome sometimes. Helped me.
Right.
Okay.
My younger years, I guess you want to say.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You want to